Makes you walk back and forth.
Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting for Monday, June 17th, 2024. We will begin with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Bieberdorf. Here. Maher. Here. Roberts. Here. Stroman.
Here.
Pettigrew. Sechrist. Lehman. Here. Ham. Here. Evans. Here. Roseland. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Next, we will have an invocation by Bishop Troy Carr, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able and willing, please rise.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to pray. My advance apologies. I will not be able to stay for all of the meetings, so let's pray. Dear God, we thank you for this day and especially the rain that provided moisture for the farmers and all those who are trying to grow things. Tonight, God, we pray for the council. We pray for their wisdom. We pray for their guidance. And I pray that you would allow them to make decisions according to your will. Bless Rapid City, the state of South Dakota, and God bless the United States of America. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Now we will take a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move to adopt the revised agenda with 10A in it.
Okay, got a motion by Roberts, second by Lehman to adopt the agenda with the addition of item 10A. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we will move on to mayor's items, and tonight we have an appointment for the new HR director. So I will read this in. Confirm the appointment of Amber Cornella as director of the Rapid City Human Resources Department and authorize mayor and finance director to sign the employment contract.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Roberts and a second by Stroman to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That's excellent. The next part of this is we will have the swearing in of Ms. Cornella as the Director of the Rapid City Human Resources Department. And just a note, we are very pleased to have Ms. Cornella a part of the team. She's going to bring in many years of private experience into the public sector. She's very confident, she's very competent, and she's very able. And I'm very excited to serve along with her. She's going to be a tremendous asset to our city and to our Human Resources Department. And I would also just like to say thank you to Ms. Leah Braun for her nearly a year of interim service as the interim HR director. She's been tremendous, and we're so pleased to have both of them on the team, as well as the rest of the HR team, to help make this city an even better place to work. So with that, we will get busy with the swearing in.
Someone has to push me in. There we go. All right. Do you want to raise your right hand? And repeat after me. I, Amber Cornella, solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or for the purpose of evasion,
or for the purpose of evasion,
that I will faithfully and impartially perform
that I will faithfully and impartially perform
the duties of the Office of Human Resources Director
the duties of the Office of Human Resources Director
within the Office of Human Resources Rapid City
within the Office of Human Resources Rapid City
according to the law
according to the law
and to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone. I should note that Ms. Cornella will begin her duties on July 15th, so she will, from here on, give notice to her current employer, and we'll see her in about a month or so. All right, next we will begin general public comment, a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I do have 2 speaker request forms. We will begin with Adrian Epp. And Mr. Epp and everybody else, just as a reminder, you have 3 minutes. You'll have a clock above you. When it turns yellow, you have 30 seconds to go.
Hello. I wasn't really able to prepare anything for today, so I'll just talk about something that I noticed recently. My wife and I, we live at those apartments down Sheridan Lake Road, the Red Rock Apartments. So we often walk in the neighborhood nearby. And I noticed that there was one of those signs that will read out your speed to you as you're going by. So clearly, there's been a lot of speeding on that road. And I've noticed it too, living, having to be on that road every day. And it speaks towards a failure of design. That the way that this road was built encourages speeding, or more like doesn't discourage speeding. It's very wide and very straight, free of many obstacles, meaning that people are very comfortable driving much faster than 25 miles per hour. Engineers will often hide behind standards, saying, we built it to the standards, so it is safe. As an engineer, don't let engineers hide behind standards. They should know better. They should have taken engineering ethics. So you cannot treat the standards that they follow as if they were etched in stone and handed to Moses on Sinai. These standards were made by men, and so they are faulty just like men. So we need to revise the way that we build our residential streets so that people do not feel comfortable driving more than 25 miles per hour. In fact, they shouldn't feel comfortable driving more than 20 miles per hour. And I think there's even a residential street in that neighborhood that has a 30 mile per hour speed limit sign, and that is unacceptable. I see children playing out in those yards all the time. So there should not be cars going more than 20 miles per hour anywhere near them. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we will have Carla Schazenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I wish to inform you on an issue that I know is not on your agenda, but I hope to put on yours and the community's radar. As you probably know, private property rights is a hot topic in South Dakota at this time. During the last legislative session, SB 201 was passed by the legislature and has a direct impact on local governing authority. This bill takes away local control of many aspects of transmission facility construction and puts it into the hands of just 3 PUC commissioners. Quoting one section of the bill, a permit for the construction of a transmission facility within a designated area supersedes and preempts any county, township, municipal, or any other governmental unit land use, zoning, or building rule, regulation, or ordinance. Any local land use, zoning, or building rule, regulation, or ordinance preempted or superseded under this section is not an applicable rule or law. This bill is not an East River issue about CO2 pipelines, but a much broader impact on city and county authorities, as well as property owners, to regulate land use and zoning of power, wind, solar, and pipeline entities. I, like many people in South Dakota, do not believe this is good legislation. We believe that the landowners and local governing bodies should have a direct say in this process. Although I don't always agree with you, I would much rather come here to my local officials than go to Pierre for that process. Because of this, we have hundreds of people activated across the state to collect signatures to refer this legislation to the voters in November. If you or anyone has any questions or would like to sign the petition, I'll be available for questions, or please go and visit sdisnotforsale.com. Thank you for the opportunity to address this issue.
And that takes us to the end of our general public comment period, and the rest of the comments are for the Vision Fund for later on. Now we will begin the non-public hearing items 3 through 31, and open public comment for items 3 through 27. I do not have any speaker request forms for those items, so we will close public comment for items 3 through 27, and move to consent items 3 through 27. Would the council wish to remove any items for separate consideration or vote for the balance? Councilor Stroman.
I'd like to pull number 9 and number 22, please.
Any other items? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion. Got a motion by Maher, second by Roseland, to approve items 3 through 27 with the exception of items 9 and 22. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, authorize mayor and finance director to sign professional services agreement between the City of Rapid City and Black & Veatch Corporation for water treatment process evaluation, project number 23-2776, CIP number 51291, for an amount not to exceed $380,000. Do you want to chime back in, Mr. Stroman?
Thank you.
There you go.
So this is another one of the agreements for professional services that I understand is the same agreement that the city's been using for years, or something very close to it. And I think, much like I was talking about the one last meeting, I think we need to come up with a better plan for writing contracts. I know when I was in law school, we'd get a failing grade if we wrote a contract like this, because we're not in a very good position. And that's, to give someone on the other side basically a blank check up to a certain amount, and then say, have at it, and then you kind of make the numbers fit after you get that amount that's really probably based on the amount of the job that's bid, not on actual work that's being done. I think we need to take a look at that. I just don't like going forward and just approving all of these engineering inspection contracts. And this one, they're going to check for zebra mussels at the water plant, and they're going to check on some other things. This is a company from Minneapolis that's going to charge us for everything from, well, travel expenses and council presentations. If they come and do one council presentation, it's going to cost $14,237. They're going to charge us to come here and tell us what they're doing. That's just one time. And there's just a lot of things that look like fluff in this to me. I don't like the way that these keep coming up to us, and we're just expected to just rubber stamp them. We just hear, this is what it costs, pay for it. And I'd like us to be a little more discriminating, or a lot more discriminating, when we're approving these contracts. This is not even like a construction manager at risk contract like we had at the Civic Center, because there's no risk here. They know that they're going to come in here and they're going to get paid for at least $380,000. And then at the end of the contract, it says the following expenses are reimbursable at actual cost: consultant costs, travel, subsistence, incidental, use of motor vehicles on a mileage basis or rental cost basis. Really? Reproduction of reports, drawings, and specifications. I mean, in today's technology world, we have to pay for that. Shipping charges, rental charges for use of equipment, including equipment owned by the engineer. I think this is just excessive, and I think we need to draw the line on some of these. That's all I have. Thank you.
Next up, Councilor Sechrist. I just bumped you out. Would you chime back in? My apologies. There you go.
Thank you, Mayor. While I appreciate everything Councilman Stroman's brought to our attention in the review of this contract agreement, in review and understanding of this particular contract and however many years it's been in place, I cannot say, but I was curious if we could just maybe get a little insight from our Public Works Department on a little of the history behind this service agreement, some of the services that they provide that are maybe unique to what our capabilities are here as a community. I know clean drinking water certainly is important to myself and my family. And I don't know if Mr. Tech would be the appropriate person to ask for a little insight into those matters, or if there is another person more appropriate, but
Okay.
I yield my time. Thank you.
All right, with that, we will go to Public Works Director Dale Tech.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the question, Alderman Seacrest. This particular contract is for three primary things, and that's the evaluation of our drinking water plants, both our Jackson Springs water treatment plant as well as our Mountain View water treatment plant. They take water directly from Rapid Creek. As you know, about a year ago, zebra mussels were detected in Pactola Lake, which means it's just going to be a matter of time before they're in Rapid Creek. And what zebra mussels do is they attach themselves to the inside of pipes, and they become quite an issue for infrastructure, primarily freshwater intakes, such as what we have at our two treatment plants. So we need somebody with some expertise to guide us and provide recommendations and what to do to manage that when that comes. The second part of this project is our disinfection process. As you know, to treat drinking water, you need to disinfect it per standards. We need to ensure that we have clean, compliant drinking water. What the city has historically used is chlorine gas. Chlorine gas is a very dangerous substance as it sits alone. We have some aged infrastructure. We need to switch our disinfection process, and they'll be doing an evaluation of what is the best economical way to do that that is safe to our employees and to the public that live near and encounter our treatment facilities. And then finally, as part of the byproduct of disinfection of our Jackson Springs plant, there are particles of arsenic that are in the surface water. It's not a health risk, but during our treatment process, that arsenic is removed, and then it is put into our sanitary sewer system, which then goes out to our treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant. We want to try to decrease the amount of arsenic that we're sending out to our wastewater treatment plant for treatment there. So all three of these items are highly specialized. We certainly do not have the expertise in-house or locally to evaluate these three items and set us on a path to address all three items.
Thank you. City Attorney is chiming in, so we'll go to Joel Landine.
Thank you, Mayor. Dale, it's a professional services contract, so I assume there was a process for selecting the consultant?
That is correct. We do have a policy. It's a consultant selection policy.
Stand by just a minute.
I'm sorry.
Are we allowed to have staff ask other staff questions in these meetings?
Well, I just wanted to confirm, but just whether or not, I think it's up to the chair whether you want to allow it, but I think the question is to me, the heart of it is the procedure by which these contracts are selected. And with professional services, it's not like when we go out to bid for a public project and we take the lowest necessarily, but I believe, and Dale can correct me if I'm wrong, price is a factor. But there is a selection process. So we solicit proposals from when we need a consultant, and then there is a panel that reviews those proposals, scores them, and that's how these contracts that you see are put in front of you. To the point about the amounts, and it seems like Alderman Stroman's larger concern is the ultimate amount of the contract, but we have to put an amount not to exceed. So they do bill for their actual work, but there has to be an end like, we cannot enter into open-ended contracts. Because if you believe they're gonna bill up to the 380, if we don't have a top, they could send us $500,000 in bills. And we haven't budgeted for that. All city contracts have to be budgeted for. There has to be money appropriated. So we have a top amount that if they're going to exceed that, they have to get additional authorization. That's when you might see a contract come back to you seeking additional authorization for more funds, because we cannot exceed that amount. Doesn't mean we'll spend it, but I think we all know when you have a contract that amount, that's probably pretty close to what it's going to be at the end of the day. And I'm assuming, although it isn't really a legal question, that the engineers and the consultant work out what they think ultimately how many hours it's going to be times how much travel, and they come up with that number to put into the contract. But at the end of the day, we can't just enter into an open-ended contract that says you'll bill us X amount per hour for how many hours of work. So that's why you see an amount not to exceed in the contract to limit the city's liability.
Okay. Counselor Seacrest?
If I may, just one follow-up question. Is this in line with the amount that we've seen in previous years, with the understanding that this is similar to previous contract agreements we've seen?
No, this is a specialized agreement. It's for this individual task. As City Attorney Landine mentioned, the scope of the project was negotiated, city staff as well as the consultant, and then the hours and fee was negotiated as well. So we believe that this is a true estimate of what it's going to cost to do this evaluation.
Okay, with that, I still need a motion for this item. Got a motion by Bieberdorf to approve with a second by Seacrest. All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion is approved with one no from Stroman. Next, we'll go to item 22, approve resolution 2024-046, a resolution writing off uncollectible ambulance patient accounts. Counselor Stroman?
Thank you, Mayor. May I address the fire chief?
Absolutely.
Assistant Fire Chief. So this came up at Legal and Finance last week, and I think the number was somewhere around 600,000. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
And this is like an annual thing that we do, right?
Yes, we're still working on cleaning up our books. These are from 2013 through 2016. So again, we're still trying to work through our books and get these write-offs off of them.
Okay. So do you have some kind of a sliding scale or you know when? I mean, that's kind of the year range seems kind of broad. So how do you determine which ones you write off?
It is pretty broad. I am not sure on that. I can find that answer out for you. I just know that over the last few years, we've been working really hard with the new billing process to get these old uncollectible bills off of our finances by writing them off, trying to get caught up.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I've got nothing else. I yield.
Yeah, but Councilman Pettigrew is in the queue, so we'll go to him.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I was on the library board, we were writing off, not this much, but thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every year for library fees not being collected. And prior to being on the council, and now on the council, I see these ambulance fees. And I know it costs money to collect money. In my two-bit business, if someone owes us $25, we do our damnedest to get that money. And I would just like to ask all departments, it's pretty easy just to write it off, but this is $600,000 of taxpayer money. And I understand some people financially can't do it, economically they can't do it, but I would just ask that they do due diligence in trying to collect this money, and it does no one any good. In fact, it cost us more money to probably have our attorney staff chase down $200. But is there some method that we can, maybe they have paralegals, if they can try and collect this money, because it's a lot of money, $600,000, that's a lot of cash. And that could go towards supplementing the fire department's budget, the ambulance budget, and continually, it seems to me, we just accept this and move on. And all I'm asking is that we do due diligence. Let's pick it up a level and try and collect these fees so the city isn't absorbing all these costs. Thank you.
And next we have Finance Director Daniel Ainsley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just to inform the council that in general, we do write off once the bills reach, I believe it's 7 years, that's the statute of limitations. So that's why it's written off of our books at that point. In addition, all of our accounts receivables that mature at that point, we do pass them on to collections, and we do the same thing with ambulance. A lot of the reason why the ambulance bills are so high on the write-offs are actually because of differences that are paid by the insurance companies versus what we actually charge. And so, for example, and again, these numbers are truly from thin air. Please do not say that these are correct. But as an example, if we charge a patient $700 to haul them to Monument, at that point, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, whatever, would end up paying the negotiated rate, which, for example, would probably be around $520. There's going to be a write-off of that balance. And so that is one of the main reasons why it is so high. With that being said, there's a tremendous number of patients that are not able to pay at all, or they pay a much lower rate, or they're deceased, or whatever it happens to be. So I don't want to say that all of that is due to the difference between what insurances pay and what are billed, but that is a large portion.
Thank you. Next we'll go to Councilor Maher.
If I may ask Director Ainsley, so we say the negotiated fee that from Blue Cross, that's what they've negotiated to pay Monument for an ambulance? Or because if we haven't negotiated that, and so we see that fee, we see that on our insurance bills. So my question is, if that's part of it, that explains the huge amount. But on the other hand, do we then continue? You said we continue collections. Are those debts reported to credit bureaus? Thank you.
All right, let's go back to Finance Director Daniel Ainsley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'll answer your last question, because that's easier. Yes, those would be reported to the credit bureaus. And the actual negotiations, some are done by our individual department with the insurance agencies, but most are not. It's going to be from the insurance agencies essentially informing that in order to, forgive me, I don't recall all the exact verbiage, but in order to be a carrier with their insurance program, this is the rate that they are going to pay you for. And that rate is going to depend on the miles that are traveled, as well as the services provided, as well as the degree of training of the individuals that are on the ambulance, the services that are provided while they're in the ambulance, all of those various things. And I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe those are essentially dictated by the insurance companies to the carrier, that this is what they're going to be paying.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I believe that's correct. And a lot of it's dictated by Medicare, Medicaid, and like the VA, they set their fees. They'll only pay so much. So we can bill for what our services are, but we're only able to collect what they say we can collect. So
very well. Next we have John Roberts.
Thank you very much, and no offense to you, but I wish we had somebody else, because we've had a lot of good explanations for this over the years. If you look at a lot of these where you have a lot of them on the same day, the fire department will pick up a lot of people on the street too, and that's where Medicaid and Medicare, whichever one it is, comes into play, and they pay a pretty low premium there, and you try to collect these fees, and you don't get them. And if you turn them over to the credit bureau, it doesn't really matter because most of these people don't have a credit score. The fire department runs a lot of people a lot of people via ambulance every day to the hospital, and a lot of those people are lower income people, and whatever their insurance picks up. That's what we get paid, and it is pretty much uncollectible for the rest of the balance. And it's just a sad fact, but I've seen these for over a decade now, and I wish the insurance companies would come in and pick up more of that, because I think a lot of that is their responsibility, because they really haven't kept up with inflation and the cost of everything. And unfortunately, we as a city are eating a lot of that. So anyway, I just wanted to chime in.
All right, next, Councilor Bieberdorf. Oh, there you go.
I would just speak to that if any provider that signs a contract with the Blues, Medicare, or Medicaid, the portion that's not paid by that carrier is non-collectible. That should be part of our age receivable. So as a provider, when I sign an agreement with any of those carriers, that money's non-collectible, so that shouldn't fall into the $600,000. Because if we're accepting payment from the Blues, we've agreed to their fee structure. You can't balance bill the patient. As a chiropractor, as a physician, whatever procedures are performed in the ambulance, they're going to pay X amount of dollars, but you can't balance bill the patient if you're dipping from the insurance company.
So I'm in support of number 22. It needs to be written off because that's the way it works. But that line of thinking, that money doesn't fall into the age report here.
And next, we're going to go to the City Attorney, Joel Andine.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to say, for several years, we didn't have a contract because the amount was too low. I think we do have a contract now, and you are correct. Now we have to accept it. That was one of the sticking points. So I know we did for a while, during at least I think some of this time frame, have some issues where the insurance companies were making a direct payment to their insured and not to us, and we were then trying to collect. So I'm not sure how much of it is that, but I think now we do have agreements because we were losing a lot of money through that. And ultimately the insurance companies won out, although they do reimburse us less than, at this point, the cost of what it basically costs to run the ambulance. So.
Okay, I'm still waiting for a motion. Motion by Lehman, second by Ham to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We will now begin non-consent items 28 through 31, and open public comment for items 28 through 31. I do have a handful of speaker request forms, and we will begin with Murray Lee. Just as a reminder, Mr. Lee, before you get started, 3 minutes for public comment, and you'll have the yellow light up here to let you know you have 30 seconds to go.
Okay, sounds good. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm here tonight. I would just like to talk a little bit, and I just have a simple ask. I would ask that you push back the decision for the ordinance from tonight, because I just still feel like not enough has been done to engage the community. I've had conversations with a few of you, and I've had some conversation with some other folks, and I just don't feel like, especially for something like this, I don't feel like enough has been done intentionally to really have any sort of a community conversation around, yeah, we think it's a great idea, or no, we don't agree with it. And I understand the whole idea. Mr. Mayor, I heard you talk about, if we wait for everyone to agree, we'll be waiting forever. And I don't disagree with that. But here's the thing, you should have some sort of an intentional effort. I mean, for me, finding out information about this was like chasing some sort of mystical creature of when you're going to be talking about it, and when you're going to have really in-depth conversations, constructive conversations about all the changes and what they mean and what they are and why they're good, or all those different things that people might be wondering about. And I think to say that, talking about something at a pre-planned event casually and saying, hey, this is also something we're working on, versus having a very intentional, well-advertised, constructive conversation, a community session, are two different things. and it's a false equivalence to say that they're equal and that you've had a conversation about something. So I just feel like there hasn't been enough done to do that, especially for this issue, because I know I still have questions, and I don't want to just have to learn about it through the grapevine, like, oh, they're going to meet tonight. And, you know, last time, when there was this conversation and you guys had your discussion after the public comment, you know, some of the body language by some of the council members was just telling to me, it's like there was a sense of frustration and can we just move this forward and get on with life? And I get that. I understand frustration. But I also understand that to do something in a community requires very thought out planning, a lot of inclusion in decisions, especially when taxpayer money is involved. And, you know, I haven't even seen like an FAQ sheet or anything like that. So it would just be my ask tonight that until some sort of intentional effort for each ward, maybe have the council members go to every ward. Mr. Mayor, you could speak and answer questions and be available. I think that would be great. So I would just ask that we not address this tonight. Thank you.
Next, Jan Mangelson.
Good evening. It's my first time speaking at a council meeting. I encourage you to leave the Vision Fund as is. It has improved the city in so many ways. If it is to be changed, it should go to the voters who gave the original approval of it. If the city is short of money, what about all the people who have moved here? Are they not a source of sales tax revenue? Thank you.
Next up, we have Natalie Stites-Means.
Hello, everybody. I wanted to comment on this agenda item. I spoke at the town hall that was held. I am executive director of the Kootenai Council. I also serve a number of roles in my community. And we're really calling on, I want to say I'm a member of the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe, and I work for 2 tribal governments as well. And I think there's a lot of considerations to be made in terms of the Vision Fund. Inclusion of Native Americans in the decision-making process, really important. Planning processes, as well as there's an issue of equity. Native people pay the sales tax. We contribute. In fact, if you really look at the sales tax revenues, you see tribal people all around this region contribute greatly to the sales tax. When you look at how Native organizations have benefited from the sales tax revenues, in terms of Vision Fund and capital projects that have been funded, we see that Native American organizations, nonprofit organizations, have not seen great equity in terms of allocations from the Vision Fund. To change it at this time was such a radical proposal. As some of you know, I have a law degree from the UCLA School of Law. I specialized in public interest law and policy. And in reading this ordinance, this radical change to completely strike out a citizen committee that's been in place for 31 years, and frankly, is one of the most strongest contributions have been made through this fund to the civic life of Rapid City, to help grow a culture, to help grow the arts, to improve our services, and to limit it to what's proposed. I don't see how you're going to create problem solving. I don't see how you're going to be creative in our community. I don't see how Rapid City can continue to grow with restrictions. And it looks like you're trying to supplant Vision Fund, create those revenues for the basic things the city government is doing already and should be doing. The Vision Fund isn't for your ordinary course of business. It's for a vision. It's for visionaries. And the creative solutions to the problems that Rapid City faces are found in those proposals, as many of you have seen over the years. It's been 31 years since it's been in place. To radically change this without taking it to the voters, without having more community outreach and engagement is really a disservice to Native Americans in our community. It's a disservice to the public, and it also is a disservice to democracy, because why would you want to decrease citizen participation in city government and processes? Why? Why would you? This is not the time to contract. This is the time to expand civic engagement and participation.
Time's up.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am. Next up, Marcy Christensen Burdick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'm grateful for the many people on all sides of this issue who've spent helping me better understand it. And after a lot of research, I am hoping you will vote no on Ordinance 6617 for the following reasons. First, and oversimplifying, when I've asked why change, what I've heard is that the current system with the city and a citizen group working on separate priority lists is cumbersome, creates too many requests, has drifted from original intent, is diverting too much money to individual group, and generates lobbying pressure on the council. I started out thinking that the best option would be to go back to the streamlined 1995 process. But then I heard that the changes in 2004 and 2012 were for two reasons. First, citizens felt they needed more of a voice on the front end of the process, and the council wanted more help vetting projects. Those are excellent motivations. In my view, what we have now is a process management problem, not an ordinance one. The city's comprehensive plan is supposed to be the guiding document for the council's final decision. It should also help citizens understand needs versus wants and give the council clarity for its decisions. There is nothing in the current ordinance that would prevent a better scoping of expectations at the front end of the process. For example, simply listing what the current priorities under the comp plan are today, or the mayor stating what he's going to ask the city to study for its priorities. Secondly, the mayor has outlined, in my view, some interesting and important ideas, and they can be achieved under the existing ordinance. Projects funded since 1995 offer clear proof that the city has been able to elegantly balance competing needs. 3, to change now would remove the process of citizen input in a way that goes against what the public understood when it voted to use some Vision Fund money to expand the Civic Center. 4, the proposed change actually broadens language and creates more gray area and potential confusion or reallocation of monies down the road. Specifically, I'd point to Section B, which says, the vision account may also be used to fund programs, initiatives, loans, endowments, et cetera, et cetera. That language does not clear up what this fund is. Finally, the Vision Fund is unique and uniquely appreciated in this city. There is pride in the fact that my fellow citizens and I have an equal voice, but the council has, as it should, the final vote when it comes to the needs of the entire community when making admittedly tough decisions on Vision Fund allocations. The current ordinance, if operated properly, allows us all to come away saying, I may disagree with some of the decisions, but I understand how they got there. The proposed change will create ill will and distrust where none need exist. I am grateful to those of you who serve on this council, and I thank you for listening tonight.
Thank you. Next, Brett Gordon.
Hi, my name is Brett Gordon. I reviewed this with my background as spending 9 years at the Pentagon and many years in corporate America and looking at the language that was being changed here. And there were a lot of shalls being changed to mays, and there's a lot of verbiage that's being eliminated that actually, as pointed out, provided citizens input at the beginning, where they can actually provide value as well as to hold the council accountable for things that are decided upon. I think that the route that the language changes are taking is a slippery slope and insidious in terms of slowly migrating the funds from the Vision Fund to operational funds or quote-unquote undefined or not clearly defined enhancements to the community, i.e. maybe something like widening a road or adding a sidewalk or something along those lines. That's not the intent of the Vision Fund. The Vision Fund, as I understood it, is really toward economic growth and development in areas that you don't normally have funds allocated toward. I think that in order to be able to really effectively engage the community, there's a necessity for the citizen committee to be engaged with the council to determine what's going on. And in fact, if this change is so important, why not actually engage a citizen committee right now to evaluate what changes are being made and hold the council accountable to any changes that are being made? In general, I think that the path that's being taken here is a slippery slope. It's something that has happened when states engaged lotteries to pay for schools. And then what happened is the states took the general funds that were paying for the schools and took them away from the schools and said the lottery is going to pay for it, and used the funds that were supposed to be used at the schools for other operating procedures. This has happened many times, and it then no longer benefits the schools in the case of the lottery, or in this case, it may not benefit the community and the economic development of Rapid City as well as it would under the current document. Thank you very much.
Final speaker request form from Jackie Dietrich.
Thank you, Mayor. As someone who is a steward of a $6 million in today's value of a city investment through the Vision Fund that today provides quality of life for Rapid City, I take very seriously the responsibility of urging you to vote no on this move tonight. I think we need to extend the consideration and the timeline for a vote on the proposed changes to the Vision Fund. While I too believe that our local government should strive for efficiency and effectiveness, several concerns arose during the town hall that I think warrant a more thorough review. One, the rationale that is based on council input rather than constituent feedback. The rationale for the proposed changes appear to be primarily based on input from City Council rather than directly from constituents. While the council represents the people, as was stated at Town Hall, it was stated at the meeting that reverting to the original intent of the fund is justified because all the previous changes were made by the council and not by the public. This seems to reflect a circular reasoning and diminishes the value of constituent input. Secondly, the impact on nonprofits providing essential services. Nonprofits were dismissed at the previous town hall as though that investment on behalf of the city were frivolous. But these services are often filling a need that the city does not wish to provide on its own. These services that the city does not directly provide are essential. And there are potential solutions being developed by the Black Hills Area Community Foundation and potentially by others for how we can meet this need as a city. We need time to consider these alternatives as better options to what's being put forward. I urge you to postpone the vote until these viable solutions have been fully explored and can be considered rather than dismantling this unique fund opportunity. And third and final for me tonight is the perspective on quality of life investments generally. It was suggested that we should feel embarrassed about investing in quality of life because no other place in South Dakota does it this way. However, many residents, including friends and family that I've talked to and colleagues, view this as a point of pride rather than as something we should be ashamed of. Investing in quality of life for our community should be celebrated and preserved. And I just want to thank you for your time on hearing public comment during the town hall. I hope you'll continue that. I hope you'll take these points into consideration and vote no on this proposed change to the Vision Fund.
That will take us to the end of the non-public comment for non-consent items 28 through 31, and we will move on to item 28, second reading of ordinance number 6617, an ordinance updating the process for approving expenditures from the city's capital improvement and vision fund by amending section 3.16.090 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. And We will begin with Councilor Evans.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that I'm in complete concurrence with the comments of Marcy, Natalie, and Jackie. I believe you guys are spot on your thinking, and I want to comment on what Brett said because I believe you're exactly right. This is a way of creating a new way of slushing this money into accounts. So we have bills like $380,000 that Mr. Stroma doesn't know is coming down the pike, and all of a sudden we start paying for things like that. And then there's no money left for anything else. So I will continue to forcefully oppose this change, as I've done since the beginning, for all the reasons that you guys so eloquently stated. So thank you.
Next, Councilor Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to make a motion to continue this matter for probably 2 months. I think 60 days so we can get more citizen input.
Second.
And if I could retain the floor.
Okay, we have a motion to continue for 60 days. Probably ought to come up with a date. But we have a second by Mr. Evans. You have the floor still.
Okay, thank you. I can come up with a date, I guess, for the second meeting in August 19th. Okay, thank you. To August 19th. And I think that there were some really good points made tonight. And I feel like when the people come to the meeting and express their concerns like that, we should pay attention to that. And they would like to have a little more time to express themselves. I think that's a worthy endeavor for us as representatives of the community. I think that, without even getting into the merits of this ordinance change itself, which I would address if and when that comes up, I think at the very least we have an opportunity to do some more work on this and to get some more input. And that's why I think that we should postpone a vote on this until August 19th. I yield.
Next, we'll go to Kevin Maher.
Yes, I want to remind everybody that the vote tonight is simply to remove one paragraph that requires the citizen committee and the 6-month process and all the public hearings. I chaired the vision committee last round. We received 26 projects from the community. A couple of them were thrown out right away because they didn't meet minimum qualifications. We recommended funding 16 projects. City Council only approved 8. And we're 2.5 years out, and only 5 of those projects have received money. And there's about 3 other projects that are doing their work and their due diligence, and they will receive money. But so you put a lot of false hope in nonprofits that they're going to get it's their turn to get money. And at the end of the day, the Vision Committee makes recommendations, does a lot of due diligence, and then the City Council does their thing on that final night. And it's, quite frankly, a waste of the citizens' time. I do believe that for community projects, we need a vision committee of citizens, and we can do that under this ordinance change. This is not the plan we're voting on. The plan has some fine-tuning to do, and I don't support the plan necessarily as proposed, but we're not voting on the plan. We're only voting on removing that requirement, and so I will support voting to approve that ordinance change tonight.
Okay, next we go to Josh Bieberdorf.
I would rise in opposition of postponing it more. It's been on the agenda for months. Everybody that wanted to speak can speak. There's been several town halls. At the end of the day, we need to take action. Everybody's been elected to take action. God so loved the world, he didn't create another committee, another working group, another session. The time to act is now. We're all elected to act. And this isn't voting on where the funds are going, it's just the ordinance. So I'm voting in opposition to postponing it. I think the vote needs to happen tonight.
Okay, next, Lindsay Seacrest.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to remind our speakers this evening and constituents that we're really taking into consideration this next 5-year plan. This is a relatively minor ordinance revision. Over the years, in 1993, when the ordinance was adopted, it had much less restriction. In fact, as pointed out, we now have quite a few stipulations written into the ordinance and the use of those funds, which is still remaining in this ordinance revision. I believe that this process will allow individuals to have a significant amount of input in the process. We're tying into the comprehensive plan the project priorities of the city and the community. There are ample opportunities for folks to get involved in the comprehensive planning stages right now. And so I urge you to definitely take the surveys, call the community planning department, speak to our professionals working that process right now. Everyone's input is really important and valued. Goals, priorities, and action items are going to be identified and set by the city. And us as the council, we represent our constituents. I take citizen input. I listen and I try to hear and consider all options on all the items that anyone want to come speak to me about. I believe this process is actually more fair without having all of the funds tied into the citizen interest and pitting the projects against each other, that it represents the interests of the city as a whole and not just the loudest organization at the time. Anyhow, I guess just to reiterate, this is removing procedural regulation that was not included in the original intention of the Vision Fund that was voted on by the people. I believe this preserves the original spirit of the ordinance as it was approved by the people, and the use should be to economic development, civic improvements that benefit all community members, all of us. And so I do believe we have our work to be done, that citizen input will yet to come as well, that we won't just be bringing forward a plan and then approving it. This will be something that we as a community come together and work on. That's where I'm at right now. Thank you.
Okay, next, John Roberts.
Thank you. I'd like to make a substitute motion to approve.
Got a substitute motion by Roberts to approve with a second by Bieberdorf. Is that it? Okay. And Mr. Evans, do you have some time remaining?
I do. I've got a couple of minutes.
Yep.
And I have been on this council now for, this is my 5th year. I'm starting my 5th year, or I'm finishing my 5th year. There has never been one thing that has come before this council that has had virtually 100% opposition from the citizens that this council ever approved. So that tells me something funny is going on up here. Okay? But we've had meetings. I've had a meeting with 200 people at West Hills, 100% opposition. We had meetings here, virtually 100% opposition. Now, that means that people up here are saying they're smarter than you and you're stupid. Okay? That's what they're saying. And I hear this justification, but the reality is nothing has ever been passed without the support of citizens in this community before. This will be a first. And I want you guys to remember that. This is evidently the hill that people are wishing to die on. But this will come around again. And I'm going to continue my opposition to it, because even if I firmly believed it was a good change, with this much opposition from the citizenry, you don't do it. It's not representing the people that elected you. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Next, we'll go to Councilor Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. And I agree with Councilman Evans here. And the other thing that, I hear this, we're just voting on an ordinance change. That's overly simplistic. That actually guts the ordinance. I mean, if you look at what the city attorney's provided us, he provided us with the strike-throughs to show where he was changing the ordinance. And on section 1B, II, says, prior to the beginning of any plan period, the mayor shall appoint a citizen committee consisting of a chairperson and 8 additional members. The mayor's appointments are subject to confirmation by the city council. And then it goes on and on. I'm not going to read the whole thing. That's the very heart of it. This is not some insignificant change, some procedural thing. This is eliminating the citizen committee and their ability to bring forth suggestions for use of those funds for community enhancement. And I agree with Mr. Gordon. I think that there's a likelihood that as time goes on, that this will just continue to get phased out if we approve this ordinance change. If this is not such a significant thing, why are we even having an ordinance change if it's not a big deal? It is a big deal. It basically guts the vision fund. It says, no, we're not going to have that citizen committee again. We're eliminating it. It's all stricken through here in the ordinance change proposal. The other thing, the other safeguard that's in there is further up in the original ordinance, again stricken out in section 1A, small a. It says at least annually the city council shall review the plan at a public hearing after providing notice thereof. This is what I'm hearing tonight, is people didn't have an understanding that there was going to be a public hearing on this proposed ordinance change. They didn't understand that we were going to do what we were going to do. I think that it's harder to get information out there with what's happening with the general communication, at least for those of us who are a little bit older and not quite as tech savvy. We can't always count on getting everything that we need to know from the media. I think that these people have made a concerted effort to come here and voice their opinions. I think we should listen to them. So there's two places in this proposed ordinance change where they basically, the proposal would eliminate the citizen input. There's some lip service to it in another part of it, but it's not nearly as significant as it is in the ordinance as it is currently written. We don't have any public hearing, at least annually, on what those projects would be, and we don't have the appointed citizen committee consisting of a chairperson and 8 additional members. And that also, that section 2, small ii, talks about the procedure. And, you know, if someone wants to bring forward a project or has some idea, they have, you know, if they want to put their money in it, they want to put their time and effort into it, I say go for it. That's good citizen involvement here. I don't want to just take it out by saying, well, you know, we're going to get their hopes up. I don't think that's a legitimate reason to pass this. If people want to invest in that, they can invest in that. And that said, I will say that I do believe that it has always been the purpose of the ordinance and the Vision Fund to be focused on city projects. And I'm not one to, you know, spend taxpayer monies on things that are not going to be owned by the city. So, but that being said, I still think that we can do that and maintain this citizen involvement. So I yield.
Okay, next, Councilor Roseland.
Thank you, Mayor. I received probably 10 phone calls over the last 2 months concerning this. I've not heard one from any of the arts people that are around here tonight from personal phone calls to me. And I really feel like if anybody knows me in Rapid City, they know I'm a supporter of the arts. I'll give money, I buy art, I support the artists, I support anything to do with the doll and Rapid City Arts Council, as I was a member of the Rapid City Arts Council for 6 years. So I really feel like that if there is really concern about the arts, which I never really heard anything except from Jackie about the arts here, but nothing personally, not a phone call, not an email or anything. And I just feel like the arts aren't forgotten in this. The comprehensive plan, as said by Councilman Seacrest, the comprehensive plan is being studied and worked on now for the next year, and the arts has the ability, all arts groups has the ability to put their input in this plan. And I really feel like, if you really want to feel like that you want to be a part of this plan, the comprehensive plan is the one to work on. And there's $29 million into that, or 29% of the funds going into the comprehensive plan. And that's goes to parks, sports facilities, arts, and culture. And so arts and culture is not forgotten here. And you got to really think that. And there's a lot of other projects like the strategic goal plan that is really tremendously important, I feel, for Rapid City. The Rapid City has the ability to say, we want to grow here. We don't want to grow where the developers tell us where to grow. We can grow here, and then those funds could be used to put infrastructure out to that area. And then when the development happens, then they can developers pay back the city for the infrastructure. And it's a good place to be, where I think Rapid City has not been ever since that I've been aware in Rapid City, that we are at the behest of developers here in town on where to grow. That's why our footprint is so large. Covers miles, it seems like. You come down Highway 16, all you see is Rapid City. So I really feel like I do not want to support postponing this any longer. And we, as a council and as a citizens group, can work later on this comprehensive plan, or the vision plan, that we could work together on it and make it right in everybody's eyes. It's just not up to the council. It's not up to the mayor. The mayor said this plan is up to the council, and the council can take input from any citizen who desires to be a part of this. So I just need to share this, that I don't think the arts are forgotten, but we're looking at a whole concept of how we want Rapid City to grow for everybody in Rapid City, not just the arts and other areas that people here feel like they're being encroached on. And I yield, and thank you much, for Mayor.
Okay. Any other comments from the council? Okay, we have a substitute motion on the floor to approve, and we'll take that vote. Yeah, let's do, I was just going to say, let's do a roll call vote. Angie, you want to chime in?
Bieberdorf. Maher. Roberts. Stroman.
No.
Pettigrew. Sechrist. Lehman. Ham. Evans.
No.
Roseland.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-2.
Thank you.
Remember that at voting time.
Mr. Evans, that's inappropriate. Item 29, first reading of ordinance number 6622, a request by the City of Rapid City for an ordinance amending the table of parking requirements in section 17.50.270 of the Rapid City Municipal Code.
Move to approve.
Motion by Roberts, second by Roseland to approve. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 30, a request by 2E Design Group for Nicole Herbert for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed Lot 9B of Lot 9 of Block 7 of Meadow Ridge subdivision, generally described as being located at 630 Innan Drive. The recommendation is to approve with stipulations.
Move to approve with stipulations.
Motion by Roberts to approve with stipulations with a second by Lehman. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 37, a request by Advanced Design Engineering and Surveying, Inc. for 3133 Holdings LLC for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed Tract A and Tract B of the, sorry, I wrote over the word, rough at, so I do scribbles on my notes here, rough at Arrowhead subdivision, generally described as being located at 3133 Hideaway Lane. The recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Got a motion by Lehman and a second by Roseland to approve with stipulations. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the end of the non-consent items, and we will begin public hearings items 32 through 40, and open public hearing comments for items 32 through 40. I do not have any speaker request forms, so we will close public hearing items and move on to the consent public hearing items 32 through 37. Do we have a motion to approve the balance, or would you like to remove any? Got a motion by Roberts, second by Sechrist to approve item 32 through 37. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the end of the consent public hearing calendar, and we will begin non-consent public hearing items 38 through 40. Item 38, a second reading of ordinance number 6619, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by Epso Sturgis SD LLC, doing business as Black Hills Harley Davidson, for a rezoning request from Light Industrial District to General Commercial District for property generally described as being located northeast of intersection of Tatanka Road and Deadwood Avenue North.
Move to approve.
Motion by Roberts, second by Lehman to approve. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 39, second reading of ordinance number 6620, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by FMG Engineering for Presbyterian Retirement Village of Rapid City, Inc., for a rezone request from low-density residential District 1 to medium-density residential district for property generally described as being located west of 5th Street and south of Minnesota Street. Motion by Pettigrew, second by Ham to approve. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 40, second reading of ordinance number 6621, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by FMG Engineering, Inc., for Mark Niemeyer for rezoning request from Business Park District to Office Commercial District for property generally described as being located at 5301 and 5603 Mount Rushmore Road. Motion by Sechrist and second by Roberts to approve. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the bill list, and with that, we go to Finance Director Daniel Ainsley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The total bills for tonight are $14,189,599.12.
Motion by Roseland, second by Roberts to approve. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Roberts, second by Lehman. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we're all adjourned. Thanks, everyone.